Hi guys. Okay, we are going to continue our unit of measurement, and today we're going to talk about capacity in the customary system. Some of you may know capacity as volume, and capacity is the amount that a container can hold. So let's take a look at our learning target. So our learning target for today is I can convert the capacities of fluid ounces, cups, pints, quarts, and gallons. So like we talked about on Monday, convert means to change, so that you're changing something so it can be used in a different way. That's what we're going to be doing with our units of measurement. Our vocabulary for this study of capacity are these 6 words. First, we have to know what capacity means. Well, capacity is how much a container can hold. This is also known as volume. And we have 5 different units of measurement for capacity. The smallest one is the fluid ounce. So a fluid ounce is a unit of liquid that is about how much fits in a little tiny medicine cup. And we'll talk about examples of that in a few minutes. Then the next largest is a cup. A cup holds 8 fluid ounces. Then we have a pint. A pint is equal to 2 cups, so 16 ounces, fluid ounces. Quarts. A quart is the same thing as 4 cups or 2 pints. And then the largest is the gallon. And a gallon is equal to 16 cups or 8 pints or 4 quarts. A lot to remember, I know, but we're gonna look at some different ways that can help you remember that. Okay, so we're going to take a look at some examples of these different vocabulary words that we just covered. The first is capacity. That's your yellow word in the middle, and that is how much a container can hold. It's also called volume. So an example of something that has capacity might be a bucket. That can certainly hold something. A non-example might be, let's say, a tree. A tree does not have capacity because it doesn't hold anything. It's just a solid object. So the smallest unit of measurement we have is the fluid ounce. And that, one of those little medicine cups like you see in that picture right there that you might get from the pharmacy, that's about a fluid ounce. Another example might be an eyedropper. That holds about a fluid ounce. A non-example might be something really large, like that bucket we talked about earlier. That would be way more than a fluid ounce. Or something like a bathtub. That would be way more. Then we move up to cup. So a cup is equal to 8 fluid ounces. There's a picture of it there with that measuring cup. And I always think, when I think of a cup, I always think of a baby bottle. That usually holds 8 ounces. A non-example would be something that's either a lot larger or a lot smaller. So an eyedropper would not be an example of a cup because it's too small. Something else that might not be an example would be maybe a fish tank. That's too large. The next unit of measurement that we are going to discuss is the pint. So a pint is 2 cups, so double as much. You see in the picture there, that's a standard measuring cup. It usually holds 2 cups. An example I like to think of is that little milk container you get at lunchtime. So that little cube-looking milk container that you have to open, that is a pint. So I'm going to write milk container at lunch. A non-example would be something much larger or much smaller. So we could use some of those things we talked about earlier. A fish tank, that is way too big to be a pint. You could have a small bucket, so I won't say bucket. How about a bathtub? That's too large. Then we move up to quart. So a quart is 2 pints, so it's double the amount. A quart, if you've been to the grocery store and you see, if you go to the milk section, you will see the big jugs of milk, and then sometimes you will see the taller, skinnier jugs of milk. That's a quart, those smaller jugs of milk. So the tall, skinny containers of milk. I think you know what I'm talking about. You might have one in your house. Sorry, it's messy. Goodness. Non-example, well, an eyedropper. That's way too little. A baby bottle, way too little. And then something that might be too big might be a lake. How about that? Now we're going to move on to our largest unit of measurement, the gallon. So the gallon is 16 cups, or also 8 pints, or 4 quarts. So a gallon of milk, that's the big jug of milk that you see at the store. You can also buy like a gallon of orange juice. That's a big jug of milk you usually see at the store. You can buy a gallon of iced tea, a gallon of fruit punch. So a non-example would be something small, like a cup of tea, or a milkshake you get from McDonald's, a small milkshake. That would not be a gallon. That would be a humongous milkshake. But any large things are measured in gallons, okay? Swimming pools are measured in gallons. Fish tanks, big bathtubs, all those things are measured in gallons. All right, so maybe you've seen this before, but this is a nice way to remember how these pieces all fit together. So the gallon kingdom, or I used to call it the groovy gallon gizmo, but if you can remember how to draw this, then it will help you remember how many things are in each capacity. So the story goes like this, if you haven't heard it. This is the gallon kingdom. The big giant green G is the gallon. And inside the gallon kingdom, there were 4 queens. So these 4 queens, or the 4 Qs, that stands for 4 quarts in a gallon. Each queen has 2 princesses. So there are 2 Ps inside of each Q. That tells us that there are 2 pints in 1 quart, or 2 princesses for each queen. And then lastly, each princess has 2 nice cats. So the little tiny C's you see in the middle, that tells us that there are 2 cups in each pint. So if you can remember how to draw that, that will help you tremendously. All right, we did this before with length. We're going to convert the exact same way. If you're going from something larger to something smaller, you multiply. Remember, horse to fly, we multiply. If you're going from something smaller to something larger, you divide. So fly the horse, divide, of course. Here is our example. Larger unit, like let's say we were going from a gallon and we wanted to change it to cups, which is a smaller unit. That would be horse to fly, and you would multiply. If you were going from a smaller unit to a larger unit, like let's say pints, the abbreviation for that is PT, to quarts, QT, you would divide. Fly the horse, divide, of course. All right, let's take a look at an example. Mara has a can of paint with 3 cups of all-purpose paint in it. She also has a bucket with a capacity of 26 fluid ounces. Will the bucket hold all the paint that Mara has? Well, let's break it down and see. So, first thing we have to know is how many littles are in one big. Remember, in order to do our horse to fly. So, there are 8 fluid ounces in 1 cup. So that's the number of littles in one big. Okay, so this is how we would solve this problem. First, we have to find out how many fluid ounces are in 3 cups. So we're going from cups to ounces. So horse to fly, cups to ounces. Cups is our horse, and we have 3 of them. And we just found out that there are 8 ounces in 1 cup. So the total fluid ounces she has is 24. 3 times 8 is 24. So she has 24 fluid ounces of paint, and the container will hold 26 fluid ounces. Well, we know 24 is less than 26, so Mara's bucket will hold all of the paint. Here's a song for capacity. Check it out when you have a minute. All right, here's an example. Let's work through one more problem. Coral made 32 pints of fruit punch for a party. She needs to carry the punch in 1-gallon containers. How many containers does Coral need? Okay, let's look at what we're working with here. She has 32 pints, and she needs to put it into 1-gallon containers. So let's break that down in our minds. I know I'm going from pints, PT, to gallons. So that tells me I'm going from pint, which is smaller, so that's my fly, to gallons, which is larger, that's my horse. Fly to horse, divide, of course. Okay, so I know I'm going to divide. That's the first thing I need to know. Let's look here at our gallon kingdom and figure out how many pints are in 1 gallon. So if I look here, I can see that there are 2, 4, 6, 8 pints in 1 gallon. And she needs, there are 8 pints in 1 gallon. So let's take that information and we can solve our problem. That's our littles in one big. Another way you could do it, I'm going to show you a different way. You could go from pints to quarts and then quarts to gallons. So you could say, okay, there's 32 pints and I know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. And then she has 16 quarts. There are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So that means 4 gallons. So she would need 4-gallon containers. But we figured out that there were 8 pints in 1 gallon, and she had 32 pints. So we could do our fly to horse divide, of course. We could go straight from pints to gallons. And the way we would do that is 32 divided by 8, because there were 8 pints in 1 gallon. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. So you would get 4 either way. I tend to like to use the gallon kingdom. Okay, let's try one together here. Convert the following problem and identify the operation that you're using. So we want to use this picture to complete this statement. We want to convert 3 quarts to pints. All right, let me write that down. 3 quarts is equal to how many pints? Okay, well, I know that quart is bigger than pint, so I'm going horse to fly, so I must multiply. Okay? Now I have to find out how many littles are in one big. So how many pints are in 1 quart? You could look back to your gallon kingdom, or maybe you just remember that there are 2 pints in each quart. So that's the number I'm going to multiply by. We have 3 quarts, so 3 times 2 is 6. So there are 6 pints in 3 quarts. Okay, guys, now it's time for you to practice. And the first thing I want you to practice is just recognizing and finding these capacities. So your first assignment that you'll do today is called Capturing Capacity. Make sure you read the directions. It's certainly not hard, but I want to make sure you're doing it correctly. So that's your first assignment, and you're going to be, it's like a scavenger hunt. You're going to be finding different capacities throughout your house. And you can submit that with a Flipgrid, or take pictures, or draw pictures, or you could just write about it. Just make sure you submit it some way to me. And then tomorrow, I want you to work on the conversions. So tomorrow, you'll go to Think Central in your class link, find the capacity conversions in your to-do list, do that assignment, and then make sure you come back and submit your assignment. That's very important. So click the Submit Assignment button, and then just let me know how you did. You can enter your score, or just give me some feedback. Let me know if you need some extra support, or if you think you're doing great. But it's very important to submit that assignment. If you don't, that's kind of like when we were in the classroom, not putting a name on your paper, and it looks like you didn't do it, but you actually did. So you don't want to do all that hard work and not get credit for it. So make sure you're going back and submitting the assignment. Okay, I am here for you. If you need anything, you can reach out to me through Remind or Canvas or email, and I will be right there to help you. You're going to do great.